I have to ask that I know you were shooting. Were you shooting Wallander while you got the call to?
I was, yeah. It was in the middle of 2008, and yeah, I was in Sweden. I was in Ystad, southern Sweden, and I started all the conversations about Thor. Were me live from Scandinavia, so maybe it's a good sign.
Was that kind of strange? Because I know I read somewhere that you didn't have like an agent that was your director, manager, or something like that. Was that some kind of? And you chose him, and all of a sudden you get Thor. Which
well, it was. Well, I've got a fantastic manager, Judy Hoffland, and then we joined forces with this guy Robert Newman, who represents people like Danny Boyle, etc. And he just happened to be around when Matthew Vaughn left the project, and suddenly they were looking around. I was just one of a number of names on a list, and you know, name thrown in the hat, and conversation started, and you know, the little dance went on, and it worked out, as they say.
Was it interesting when they pitched it to you? Were there certain things from the original script that you were like, maybe we should try it differently, or did you have very similar kind of visions when you approached?
Well, in a way, I suppose. Well, first of all, we had to work out, hey, am I going to make it some kind of secret art film? And so I said, well, no, I wouldn't do that. I'd try and make it whatever film it wants to be. These things tend to have a life of their own. And then I said it'd be good to see a script. That'd be helpful. So I had a look at a script, and it was all set in Viking Earth. It was very, very effective, but it was not what I wanted to do, and that focused my mind clearly. I knew the comics well enough, and I, you know, did my research, and so I was clear about what interested me, and it was putting Thor against modern Earth and putting the two things together. No question that was absolute, total gut instinct from the word go. And then, well, which bits of the Thor story do we present, and how can we make that work? And that was the process of working on the script from that point onwards.
I loved how on the Earth section there's all these moments of just to see him like the kind of God versus human kind of comedy, you know, of errors and stuff like that, that you really played up on, which is really nice to kind of, I don't know, was that something that you really liked about?
The idea of this fish out of water comedy, this archetypal idea of a God amongst men, and an entitled and arrogant God among men who just simply doesn't understand why if he drinks a cup of coffee and smashes the cup, he just doesn't get another one like that. That's what he does in Asgard, and he's completely bemused by people who are surprised by this. And Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor, has a great gift for comedy, and so that tension set against the world of Earth was great. It was always going to be fun. It had to be fun. There are wonderful, exciting, glorious action adventure-y moments in this kind of story, but there's a lot of humor as well, and there was a total determination to have. That's a summer movie. You know, want to entertain people in the summer. It's that simple.
But flip side, at Asgard, you had created this really. I mean, I loved watching those sections a little bit more than I like the Earth stuff, and so because you had this wonderful cast, and so when you have these people doing these scenes, it must have been really fun for you. Did it feel like almost theater of sorts, or?
Well, the backbone of it had to be Thor's story, and we were taking that seriously and making him be really quite an arrogant young man to begin with, to lose all of that, to be banished, to try and ask questions about who he was, what he cared about, who he loved, where his home was, and that was all set off by his relationship with his father. If you get Tony Hopkins there and his brother Tom Hiddleston, if you get him there and Chris himself, three of them passionate actors, intelligent actors, detailed actors, you get a lot of psychological truth, a lot of relatable kind of moments and beats, you know, in a heightened way, in a royal family, in a tense situation. But it was very enjoyable to do those, and it was an example of just we would, in the nicest possible way, we were trying to have our cake and eat it. We were trying to say, as someone once said to me, hey, you're trying to make an elevated genre movie. I said, well, there's no, that's a daft way of putting it. We're just trying to do it as well as we can, but we're absolutely assuming that the audience is very intelligent. Summer movie doesn't mean what, you check your brains out at the door? No, you don't have to. But listen, you don't have to put them into overdrive, but let's offer up as much layering of this as we possibly can, and that's what I love in these kind of movies, when I go away and there's something to talk about, as well as having the experience, in this case, of, say, 3D and all of that immediacy. But, you know, the performances were totally the center of what I was after presenting.
What was it like? What was your decision finally to get Chris? Because I know you saw his brother even, and there were all these other people in the running. And what was it about his kind of presence that you felt was the perfect Thor for you?
Brawn, brain, humor. he had those three things. He could, I mean, he's naturally very slim, he's got a surfer's body, he likes to surf, but he can take the bulk, and although there was a time when I think he hated me for the amount of protein he had to eat at the regular intervals, he had to eat it. But he's a smart actor, very hard worker, and he shares that with Tom. They're both real pros, but a genuine, easy sense of humor. He's also one of those people, he's a natural on screen, and in this part, which was, the film is dependent on his performance. And he meets the challenge, he rises to the challenge, and he embodies Thor. And he can stand, look, listen, think, and we're interested in watching. And that's the product of not only his natural gifts, he's a beautiful man, physically impressive, but he also does the homework to provide the thoughts and the kind of inner life that also attracts us. So it was the combination of all of those things. He's talented, and he has a talent for his talent.
Last question then. I mean, a lot of these movies, especially from Marvel, it seems like they give opportunities for people. They really think outside of the box. And so you gave Chris an opportunity to be Thor, and that they've given you an opportunity to do this summer film. And so what was that? I mean, do you see the method to their madness, or do you kind of like...
I think they take these scary risks. I think they, what seemed like an incredible risk at the time now seems like the simplest thing to have, cast Jon Favreau as the director of Iron Man with Robert Downey. At the time, some said, who'd have thunk it? Now you think, well, you put two tremendous talents together and off you go. But it was maybe out of the box. I guess casting me as the director here was both surprising and not surprising, depending on how you look at it. Maybe it was both things. And casting Chris Hemsworth, well, that was, I consider myself fortunate to have come across that kind of talent and be around to maybe have some kind of hand in helping it along at the start of what I think is going to be a long and glorious career.
I agree with you. Congratulations on this film.
Thanks, Austin.